see if we're live or not. No, it doesn't look like. Yes, we are live. Sorry about that, guys. Don't know what happened there. We weren't live, and now we are. And here we are. I'm sitting there on my phone as we go live. So apologies about that. I don't know what happened. It took a long time. I'm not sure whether you saw the opener there at all. But, yeah, the old Starling tonight, just probably a little bit slow to get started. But always great to have you along. Got a couple in the chat already. Here we got Asbot and Big J there. I'll get to your comments there in a second. But big weekend for boxing. Really good time yesterday, actually. We did the watch-along for the Rodriguez, so Jesse the Bam Rodriguez and Juan Francisco Estrada, and as well as the Teofimo Lopez and Steve Clagett fights. I was a little bit concerned we might not be able to do both, but it actually worked out well when we had the Lopez and Clagett fight was on while the Sonny Edwards fight was on DAZN, and then the Lopez fight finished and we were able to get into Estrada versus Rodriguez. So really good day of boxing. We had about 2,500 views on our live stream, so that was good. And we'll talk about that tonight. So I'll get to a couple of comments there. First of all, Asbot, how you going there, mate? What do you got there? Don't know what the round table is, but I like the idea. Some others doing something similar to Pro Box TV sounds good. Yeah, Asbot, we'll D-Style in the States. I'm on his show probably every 3 or 4 weeks. I'm on there, and it's called The Round Table, and he has other content creators, so other people with YouTube channels, podcasts, whatever it might be, and so not necessarily just his friends, colleagues, whatever it might be. These are actual other creators that have their own channel. So I'm looking to maybe do something similar here in Australia. I don't think I'll pinch the round table off D-Style, though. Does a great job over there too. So if you don't know that, Asbot's D-Style Boxing. Here in Australia, it's every Tuesday morning at about 9 a.m, but you can obviously watch it on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure the podcast version is coming soon as well. So a little bit like Pro Box TV, probably not the bells and whistles and all the production that Pro Box TV has, but look, it's just creators speaking with the other creators. That's all it is. And I just said yesterday, who should I have on the show? Big J's in the chat. He's up for it. Speaking of Big J, what do you got there, mate? Spoke to the chump today. That's Jai McAllister, of course. While he's still ducking me, he's all for the Oz version of the round table. You could call it Oz Boxing's round table of knowledge or something like that. Well, I'm not. I think we'll keep the round table wording out of it, but we'll think of something anyway. We've got some suggestions there. But look, I think it's a really good concept because it's good. Like, obviously on here, we've got Tszyu Brown, Peter Maniatis, Mike Altamura, and we'll continue to have those guys on along the way. But I just want something regular with, as I said, other creators who share a passion for putting content out, and we can all talk amongst ourselves. And hopefully, I'm not sure how it works with the technology and everything, whether we'll be able to stream it all to our own channels. Of course, I'll have it on here, but I'm not quite sure what the other boys will be able to do with their channels. So, but yeah, I will get onto him, Big J, and we'll have a chat about that. What have we got there? Not much going on this week, but Skye Nicholson has her defence next week on the Boots Ennis card. Her opponent is very weak and hasn't fought outside the Dominican Republic. Well, let's have a quick look at the record of Skye Nicholson's opponent. Isn't this the beauty of the internet? When it doesn't matter what you're up to, you can't hide, can you? So... hang on, I've called her Skye Robinson. Where did I get that from? Is that from Neighbours, I think, isn't it? Jeez, that's how well I'm going. It's only Monday too. All right, Skye, let's have a look at her next fight. There she is. She's 10-0. Was that a proper amateur record there too? I'm not sure whether that's right. 107 wins, 32 losses, so 139 fights as an amateur, which is pretty good for the girls. All right, so Skye's 9-0. She's fighting Diana... What is it there? Diana Vargas, who's 19-1. Pretty good record though, Big J. Let's have a little bit further of a look there. She's 19-1, 12 knockouts. So let's have. This is where we probably get the real stories, the records of the opponents. All right, we don't get off to a very good start there. The first three opponents: 0-16, 0-6, 0-18. Then we've got 2-23, 14-28. Wow. 0-18, 0-16-1, 0-16-1, 14-29, 0-8, 1-23-2, 15-30. I'll keep going. 0-1, 17-27-4. Get your calculator out here, Big J, and tell us the combined record. 0-21. Hey, there we go. We've got a couple of winning records. 16-2, 13-11-1, 3-0, 12-8-2, 6-1-1, 6-3-1. So her last 6 opponents at least had a winning record, Big J. But geez, pretty horrendous those first 13 opponents or whatever there. One stoppage loss. That was against Vivian Bienellis Rodriguez back in June last year, beaten on by over 8 rounds on points. All right, so yeah, that's intriguing stuff there, Big J. Look, I don't really know what to say there, Big J. I think the figures speak for themselves, and that's probably why I don't get too hung up on records. I wouldn't have thought, because Diana Vargas, looking at her record straight away, 19-1. What is she ranked in the WBC? Big J, I'm assuming she's number 1. Let us know. Anyway. All right, Big J. Told you Bam would KO. You've got okay, Estrada, but I understand what you're saying there. That boy's a true killer. Excellent skill set. Yeah, look, I was really impressed with Bam, Big J, because, look, I know we spoke today and you were pretty adamant that, yeah, Bam would get the job done. I thought he would win, but probably not in the manner that he did. I thought Estrada might be a little bit more competitive, but what a performance by Bam Rodriguez. He just, right from the word go, just lightning fast, punching hard, just great footwork. I loved his little strategy of just a little kick around to the left or a pivot off to the right or whatever it might be, and then he would attack again. He wouldn't let himself get too far away from Estrada, and just the volume punching, I think, was the key to the fight. Just his speed, as I said, his power, footwork, you name it, Bam Rodriguez has got it. And I did say today that what would you give to have Bam Rodriguez a division or 2 heavier, where we would see him in against Inouye. Wow, what a fight that would be. Look, he could probably still go up to bantamweight. I'm not sure whether Inouye would come back to 118. There's other fights out there, of course, the main one being Nakatani. It was Takai or Inouye Jr., his brother. So, yeah, some great fights in those lower divisions. Just fantastic fight yesterday. And look, you don't really know sometimes if you're over the hill, until it's too late. And I think Estrada yesterday, look, he tried his heart out. I did say during the watch along that he reminds me so much of Juan Manuel Marquez. Not really fast, not necessarily a big puncher, but just a warrior. The way he leads with uppercuts, leads with hooks, leads with body shots. Just a really, really technically efficient fighter. But yesterday, Bam Rodriguez took all of that away and absolutely took Estrada apart. There is talk of a rematch, by the way. There was a rematch clause, and it looks like Estrada afterwards said he was going to take Rodriguez up on that clause, but I, if anything, think it ends even earlier next time. I would think that Rodriguez or Bam showed Estrada the necessary respect early. I thought he did what the first probably, I think, 2 rounds were cautious by both guys, but I would think the next time around you would see Bam just say, I know I got this guy. I know he can't hurt me. I know he can't put up with the pace I said. I know he can't cope with the speed, the power, of course, the body shots. And I think it might end a little bit early. What was it yesterday? 7 rounds, I think it was. I would say 5 rounds next time, I would think. So anyway, we'll see. But the rematch clause is there. So let's see if Estrada does go through with it. There's Glenn in the chat. How are you, mate? Evening all. How good was the Bam fight? Outstanding it was. Just a really good day of boxing. And even though the Lopez Clagett fight on paper wasn't really a great fight, I actually think the fight itself was quite good. I was really impressed by Clagett. Very, very limited fighter. Let's face it. And Lopez is super talented, but I was just really in admiration of Clagett. He stuck to his game plan right throughout. I was a little bit worried that as the fight went on, as he fatigued, that he would open himself up and Lopez would really take him apart. And Lopez did, on occasions, really take to Clagett. Just didn't have the power to put him away. And, of course, Clagett's such a tough fighter as well. And, yeah, super impressed with Clagett's heart, his endurance. He stuck to the plan the whole way. But at the end of the day, there's levels, as I say, and Lopez's just superior technique and a little bit of polish just had it over Clagett. And I can't remember what the actual scorecards were, but it was pretty one-sided to Teofimo Lopez. And I was actually a little bit disappointed in Lopez that when he really opened up, probably in the 7th, 8th, 9th round or whatever it was, and then he sort of put the cue on the rack. I would have liked to have seen him really put the foot down and go after Clagett. Maybe he just realised he couldn't really hurt Clagett or get him out of there, so he played it safe. I mean, lots of things can happen. Get caught with a shot, of course. You might injure hands or one of your hands, whatever it might be. And so I get it, but I just would have liked to have seen Lopez just really take to Clagett in the later rounds and maybe try and get him out of there. But we'll see what he's got coming up. Plenty of options for him as well, I suppose, isn't there? What's that there? Glenn, name, patience for a very... Is that Bam, is it? For a very young guy, it was really good. Yeah, he was, mate. Certainly was. All right. Big J again. Vargas is unranked with the WBC. Just checked. This is Diana. Unranked? Well, how does that work? It's a bullshit fight. Terrible look for Skye. Clearly protecting the belt. Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? On one hand, she's calling out Amanda Serrano, and on the next, she's fighting an opponent who's not ranked in the organisation. I'm assuming it's a WBC defence. Yes, it is a WBC defence. It is at the Wells Fargo Centre in Philadelphia, by the way. But those first few opponents, I'm going to do a quick summary of where we're at. So we've got the combined records of her first 3 opponents was 0-40. There you go. 0 wins, 40 losses. Then we've got 2 wins. So that's 2 wins, 63 losses for the first 4 opponents. So there you go. Just the first 4 opponents alone, 2 wins, 63 losses. I don't want to be laying the boots in the sky here, but Big J brought it up. So if she wants to come at me, I'm going to point her in your direction, Big J. So it's 2-63. Then we've got 16-91. 16 wins, 91. 16 wins, 109, 125. All right. So 109. So what was that? What did I say? 16 wins and 109 losses in the first 2, 4, 6, 7 fights. Wow. And 14 of those 16 wins was from one opponent. So 16 wins, 109 losses. Anyway, they come after you, Big J. I'm telling you, don't mess around with the girls. Who is it? You use the term the simps. I don't even know what a simp is, but I know it's been used on here a couple of times. The simps will come for you, Big J. Well, more importantly, they'll come for me. I'm just spelling out the facts, though, guys. That's in the first 6 fights, 16 wins, 109 losses, and 14 wins by one opponent. All right, let's get into it. There's Batman in the chat. How you going there, mate? Dundee, Luke. How are you, Luke? Well done to the Blues. Tigers in a rebuild phase. Yeah, look, normally I'd be doing backflips about the win, Luke, but I think it's pretty obvious that the Tigers, this is Richmond Tigers, of course, are in rebuild, as you say, rebuild phase there, and just down on soldiers at the moment. And go rewind about 5 years, it was the complete opposite, wasn't it? And it's amazing how quick the tides can turn. But I'm not one to ever gloat and lay the boots into opponents, because we've been there. I've put up with 20 years of this, Luke. So I'm just reveling in the way that the mighty Blues are going at the moment, and just loving the fact we're in the hunt and in the mix for September. So, well, it looks like we're going to finish. Well, I won't say that. It doesn't look like we're going to finish second. We are second at the moment. Not running a game, I think, above third. So anyway, we're talking footy, boxing, but I've got to put that in there. Carlton, get on the navy blue train. Plenty of room on the bandwagon, guys. So get them while you can. All right, Mutsy, how are you, mate? Super patient, had a few chances to rush thing. This is Bam. Yeah, look, that's what I said, Mutsy, too. I was really impressed by the patience that Bam showed. Normally, he's a very explosive type of fighter. When he gets the fighters hurt, he really likes to load up and just go to town. And I just really liked the way he dropped. He didn't drop Estrada till the 7th, whatever it was, 7th or 8th, whatever. What round was it? 7th, I think it was. He did hurt him in the earlier rounds and just kept his poise, just looking for his openings and really taking his time. And I was really impressed with the way he went about it, Glenn. And I'm not sure there's anyone around those divisions that can come anywhere near him. I mean, we look at the super flies, and just as we're going there, I'm going to quickly bring up the rankings. I like to go to boxing scene. They're always probably the best in the rankings. So just a quick look as we're going there. We'll have a look at, was he super flyweight? Of course, our man's in there, Andrew Maloney, but I'm not sure he's in the mix at the moment. So we've got Pedro Guevara is probably the next one in line, I would think. He's the WBC interim champion. And Bam is obviously the full champion. We've got Kazuto Ioka in the WBA. Fernando Martinez. Haven't seen a lot of Martinez, I will say. And then we've got Kosei Tanaka, who's got the WBO belt. So I would think he would beat all of those guys. And outside that, I mean, apart from maybe Chocolatito, he's probably the only one that I would see as a real threat at this stage. But again, he's sort of on the down slope as well. So, but yeah, maybe Guevara is probably the other obvious one. That's about it. All right, there's Trevor. How are you, mate? Hi, Lynden. What was your assessment of the Lopez victory yesterday? Look, as I said earlier, Trevor, I was impressed with his. Well, I thought he boxed really well. The only problem, as I said, or the only issue I had was that he didn't go for the knockout in the end and try and make a real statement to everyone out there. Look, I thought he boxed really well. I think it was really obvious early on that he had Clagett's number, even though Clagett was super aggressive, had a really good game plan, as I said earlier, really bit down on the mouth guard and had a real crack at Lopez. But look, with all due respect to Clagett, he's probably not world title material. I understand he was on a 9-fight winning streak, so he probably deserved it. Well, in this day and age of rankings with everyone, he probably deserved it, but just levels above Lopez. But look, I think Lopez really was in second or third gear the whole fight. I would have just loved to have seen him click in the 4th, or even better in the 5th, to really let the other 140-pounders know that he means business. Because it wasn't I was going to say it wasn't a convincing win. It was convincing as far as the scorecards goes, but it wasn't convincing as far as I've got an inferior opponent in front of me, and I'm going to really make him pay and show everyone what happens when they get in the ring with me if you're not up to it. And he just didn't do it. Having said that, he has a real habit of fighting to his opponent's capabilities. The better the opponent, the better he fights. If he doesn't rate his opponent, then you'll see him suffer. I think the last fight was at Jermaine Ortiz. Struggled in that one. Struggled against Martin. But then looked great against Josh Taylor. So it's an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, so you look at, let's have a quick look at the 140-pounders. So much going on at the moment. So let's quickly go through them. So of course he's the WBO. What have I done there? I've gone up to welterweight. Sorry, super lightweight. So he's WBO champion. Where was Clagett? He was ranked number 8. So it's obviously a voluntary defense. Barboza's his number 1 challenger. I don't think he's going to pose many problems either. Richardson Hitchens is an interesting one. He's ranked number 3 with the WBO. So he's probably one I would advise Lopez to stay away from at the moment. But he's got Jack Catterall there. That's probably one, although he is with Matchroom, Lopez's top rank. So who knows, it might get a bit complicated. But you look at him, you've got Devon Haney, still with the WBC belt. Looks like he's going to take an extended break. Sandor Martin. Now, is he... Now, there's so much going on at the moment. Sandor Martin is the interim champion now, isn't he? And Haney is the champion in recess. We've got Isaac Cruz, the WBA champion. He's locked in for a fight. IBF is now Liam Paro, of course. Matias still on there as champion. Who's Liam Paro going to fight? He probably gets a voluntary first up. And some okay fighters in there. He's got Hitchens as his mandatory. And then, of course, Lopez, who's got Barboza, Catterall, Hitchens. So, yeah, there's a few options there. Josh Taylor's in there as well. I think he would probably go to welterweight, I would probably think. So, yeah, but he's got some options there. Trevor, I would think that he will probably, well, he'll have to take his mandatory next. And that is, Barboza. Yeah, Barboza. And then does he look at maybe Liam Paro? Who knows? Be an interesting matchup, wouldn't it? Lopez and Paro. Yeah, very interesting. But yeah, really impressed, Trevor. I thought he boxed really, really well. I just would have liked to have seen him just put the foot on the gas a little bit more. Glenn says Tszyu's power just hasn't carried moving up. No, it's a good view of it, Glenn. You're probably right. Look, as I said earlier, maybe he tried to, and look, he hit Clagett with everything that he had really in those middle rounds, didn't he? And Clagett took the punches really, really well. I mean, he was marked up a little bit at the end, but when you look at it, he didn't really, I don't think at any stage have Clagett in any real trouble. Maybe he might have buzzed him or whatever, but didn't really have him in trouble, even though he landed some great shots. So you're right, the power doesn't seem to have come up, although is Clagett just one of those really, really tough guys. But you would think that if Tszyu can't hurt Clagett, what hope has he got of keeping someone like Isaac Cruz off him for 12 rounds? Wow. He would be, and Liam Paro, if he doesn't respect it. See, Liam Paro, look, great boxing, Matthias, but Liam Paro can actually come forward and be the aggressor, and his work rate. Liam's not a massive puncher. I know he's had some good knockouts, but he's not a really big puncher. He's more speed and accumulation of punches and that sort of stuff. So he might give Teofimo Lopez some problems if he's coming forward and really that work rate. So, yeah. And who else is there? So Haney's not so much, of course, although who knows what he's going to do. I would say that maybe, yeah, I think what have we got? Jack Catterall might be a good one for Lopez next. He's ranked number 2, so maybe he might get the shot as well. That would be a good matchup for Tszyu. Catterall, good fighter, but I don't think in the league of any of those other guys. So got some options, but you're right, Glenn. He needs to do something about that power. Whether he can or not, we'll see. All right. BJ. Bring Skye and her simps on, mate, like I'm afraid of a little 126-pound girl from Brisbane and her nerdy followers. I'll just laugh at them. Yeah. It seems to be the case these days. You can't get stuck into the girls, especially the ones that have got a bit of a male following. If you get where I'm coming from, so she's got definitely a bit of a fan club, Skye Nicholson. But look, maybe I don't know. I'm grasping at straws a bit here. I don't know how she gets a title shot if she's not ranked in the top 10 anyway, Big J. But, mate, look, maybe it's just a tune-up. You never know. They might have this Serrano fight maybe locked in for later in the year, so she wants a tune-up fight to keep busy. I will give her some credit, Skye Nicholson. She keeps busy. She fights regularly. She fights all over the world. So you've got to give her some credit there, Big J. But I get it. I'm not sure if you're trying to get respect in the boxing world and you want to fight with the best 126-pounder in the sport, in Amanda Serrano, why you'd be fighting someone like Vargas, who is completely unproven. So yeah, bring on Big J. I'm with you there, mate. David Jenkins, Hawks are coming for you boys. Yes, wow, they've been awesome. Hawthorn, they've won 6 out of 7, I think it is. And they should have won all 7. They of course got run down by Port, and I think I did the sums. I think they lost the first 5, and I think they might have won 8 of their last 10, and it should have been 8 out of 9. Sorry, 9 out of 10 it should have been. So, yeah, they're doing all right, the Hawks. Still a little bit too far down the ladder, I think, David, to make a big impression at the end of the year. There's plenty of teams in front of them, and but they're definitely coming, mate. They sort of remind me of where we were a couple of years ago. So, yeah, bring it, Dave. I'm waiting this year. I'm always a little bit apprehensive about such and such is going okay now. It's like, all right, we're all in. We're going for it this year. We're going for the premiership, and whoever's in our way, look out, because the blue train is coming. And with your Hawks as well. I'm not sure we've played you yet, have we? So we'll see when they play in a few weeks, mate. All right, Sam, how you going there, mate? Saw reel from Tszyu today hinting at an announcement coming soon. Have you heard anything? Apologies if you have already covered this topic. No, I haven't, Sam. Yes, I have seen a bit about Tszyu. I was curious to see that George Rose said he would like to see Tim fight at least twice more if not 3 times for the remainder of the year. Now, I'm not sure whether George has got a calendar, but we are now into July. Now, Tim probably won't be able to fight until September, October, so I don't know how he's going to fit 3 fights in there. I mean, if he was able to get those fights in, he would have been cleared for the August fight, which is, about a month away. So I've heard some whispers, Sam. There's been talks of who's the Russian, not Mikhailovich. What's his name? Murtazaliev is one that's been mentioned. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a tune-up, Sam. I know he doesn't really need one, but you got to look at Fundora's fighting Spence next. You got Madrimov fighting Crawford next, and you've got, I've mentioned Fundora. So they're the champions. The only one that's free at the moment is Murtazaliev, and I'm not sure whether he's got a fight booked. Let me just have a look. I did see a while back he might have had some one booked, but let me put it into BoxRec and see, because I don't think he has. All right, so he's 22-0. No fights on BoxRec at the moment. Now, he last fought in April, so that does make a lot of sense. I'm sure Tim would absolutely 100% jump at the fight if it was offered. I have heard through a couple of people that he might be the next one if he decides to fight Tim. Very risky for Murtazaliev, who might think that Tim might not be really worth it at this stage. So he would be his first defense. So he won that. That was against Jack Colkay. That was a good fight too, that one. So at the moment, Tim's ranked number... Well, I don't even know how this works, by the way. The number 1 and number 2 rankings are vacant. How do you have rankings that are vacant? I don't understand it. You've got Erickson Lubin at 3, Tim Tszyu at 4. Why would you have Lubin at 1 and Tszyu at 2? That just doesn't make sense. I'm not sure. We're fighting for a ranking. We're fighting an eliminator for a ranking. I don't understand it. But anyway... But based on that, Erickson Lubin would be next in line. However, who knows? He might get step aside money or whatever it might be, or he decides to fight Tim. Look, who knows? But that's what I sort of heard, Sam. There might be some other options out there. The good thing I'll say about Tim is that he'll want the best fight possible for when he comes back. And I know it'd be easy to come back and have that tune-up fight, but let's remember the cut. It wasn't like he was beaten to a pulp from Fundora, and it was a heartbreaking beatdown or whatever you might want to call it. It was just outpointed over 12 rounds because of the blood. So I don't see it's one of those things that Tim will see as, all right, well, I think I need a confidence builder. Tim, if anything, will be saying, hey, I want the best possible fight I can get, as we saw with wanting to fight Ortiz. Now, Ortiz is also fighting Boachuk, looks like, the week after the Riyadi card with Crawford and Madrimov. That looks like that's going to be in Las Vegas, that one. So that's Boachuk and what did I say? Ortiz for the interim WBC belt. So that means pretty much the top, what's that? 2, 4, 5, 6 of the top probably 7 fighters in the division. We'll put Tszyu in there as well. So we've got Fundora, Boachuk, Spence, Madrimov, Crawford, Fundora. So 6 of the top 8 fighters in the division are all fighting against each other, which leaves 2 left, which is Murtazaliev and Tim Tszyu. So if those 2 guys did fight each other, all of a sudden we've got the top 8 fighters. It's almost like a little elimination tournament, isn't it? But I heard a few murmurs there, Sam, but that's probably all I've got at the moment, is that he wants the best possible fight. And Murtazaliev, is that how you pronounce it, has been mentioned, but he will fight the best available, I've got no doubt. But what is it now? Start of July. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with the next couple of weeks they do make the announcement, Sam, so we'll keep an eye on it, mate. Glenn, talking about the Blues, cop that Queensland. Yes, I didn't watch the game, but I understand the way it all works. The Queenslanders against the New South Welshmen, or the Cockroaches, aren't they? So was there 90,000 people there at the G? So it looked like a good night. I'm still not sure how the atmosphere was when you're playing in the middle of the MCG. It's a massive, massive field, massive stadium. And there would have been a hell of a lot of empty space around that field, I would think. But, yep, good on the Blues. And let's see. I think the decider's up in Queensland, isn't it? So, going to be a good one to finish off. All right, Kyle. Spence and Fundora reported locked in for October. Yep, Tim's management better get a move on and locks in something. Yep, as we've just discussed there, Kyle. If you know anything, let us in on what you do know. But, yeah, there'll be... look, the good thing I'll say also about Tim and his team is they're always planning ahead, the 1-2 fights ahead. They won't sit on their hands, and it'll be the best fight possible. And if it's not Murtazaliev, it'll be the next best thing. Who knows? It could be Lubin in an elimination fight. I doubt... I was going to say, I doubt that they would come back to Australia for the fight, but if there's not really much going on overseas, well, it probably makes sense. Bring some sort of contender or some sort of tune-up fighter to Australia and get Tim back on the right track. But again, Tim just wants the biggest fight and the one. But looking at let's have a look at the rankings. We've got Charles Conwell of the WBC at number 2. We've got Ortiz and Abbas Barrio as the number 1 and 2 in the WBA. Not rated versus not rated in the IBF, number 1 and 2. Yeah, I don't think Xander Zayas, he's ranked number 3 with the WBO. I'm not sure that he's ready for any of those guys. Of course, we've got Josh Kelly and Liam Smith fighting in September as well, so you throw them in the mix as well. Now, here's the other interesting thing. Now, Josh Kelly... Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. He was ranked number 1 by one of the organisations, and now he's just dropped right out. He's number 9 with the WBC. He's not ranked by the WBA. He's ranked number 5 by the IBF. Well, mainly 3 because number 1 and 2 are vacant. And he's ranked 4 by the WBO. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but he's now not ranked number 1 by any organisation, and he's about to fight Liam Smith. So anyway, plenty going on there, Kyle, but I'm with you. They better lock something in because all the top 154 pounders are all fighting against each other. But the fact that Murtazaliev hasn't got a defence, last fought in April. Of course, Tim fought March 30th, was April 1st here in Australia. So around the same time. So it does make a little bit of sense that they could fight each other. But again, I'm just guessing like you guys if I'm gonna anticipate who he's going to fight. But either way, I'm sure that we're only a week or 2 away from an announcement. All right, Big J. Proud Queenslander, Big J, just giving you Blues fans a false sense of security. Will flog you in Queensland. Okay. All right, Carl. Haney also looking at Barrios. Can you rule him out? Or you can rule him out, or do you rule him out at 140? I would be surprised if he come back to 140, Haney, Kyle, because look, the issue I've got with Devon is that I think he still might be a little bit big for the weight at 140. I think he's still going to struggle at that weight. And we've seen even already the impact of the punches on him at that weight from Ryan Garcia. But I think he might be a fraction small at 147. But having said that, also, Barrios has come up a lot in weight as well. He used to fight at a lot lower weights. So maybe it does make sense. But the fact that Barrios is the WBC champion, now he's the full champion. No, he's not. Hang on. Oh, sorry, I've gone up. I think he is the full champion now. Yeah, so Mario Barrios is the full WBC champion. And the fact that Devon is the champion in recess, I think they will give him the option of fighting Mario Barrios. But again, Barrios is going to have to defend his title at some stage as well. So he can't wait too long. I think Haney should wait, maybe have another 5 or 6 months off and then fight Barrios. He could probably, actually having said that, he could probably have another 2 or 3 months off and then announce the fight with Barrios and fight him 2 or 3 months after that. But as I said, Barrios is going to want to defend that title soon. So Haney's going to have to make up his mind. The other champions at that weight, Crawford will probably relinquish the remainder of his belts, WBA and WBO. Amanta Stanios will be the WBA champion, and Brian Norman will be the WBO champion if that's the case. And, of course, Boots Ennis with the IBF. So, geez, I'm not quite sure Devon Haney's going to want a piece of Boots Ennis, I wouldn't have thought. If he got hurt by Ryan Garcia, I'm not sure he'll want the smoke of Boots Ennis, as they say. So I think Mario Barrios does make sense for 2 things. One is that Barrios is very beatable, and 2, he's got the WBC belt, and it's an easy transition for Devon Haney to make his comeback at 147. But geez, if I was him, I'd keep away from Boots Ennis. Maybe wait till he moves up, if he does. Hey, g'day, Batman. What do you got there, mate? Bam looks sharp. I still think Junto would beat him, though, at 118. Okay, but obviously the unification with Ioka is probably next. Still a really good fight. Yeah, the Japanese have really got a stranglehold of those sort of 118 to 122 pound titles, haven't they? And that's the thing with the weight. I mean, Bam, he's obviously a great flyweight and look great at super flyweight. Does he carry the weight up to bantamweight? Because Junto Nakatani is a big bantamweight, a really big bantamweight. You saw him. I remember seeing him stand next to Andrew Maloney when we were in Las Vegas for their fight, and he's a big bantamweight, tall, long reach, can obviously bang. Excuse me, and does look really strong at the weight too. Sometimes you get guys that they might make the weight and look big, but look actually really unhealthy at the same time. I think Junto Nakatani looks big, strong, and healthy at 118, which is why I think it'd be great to see him move up to 122 and fight Inouye. I'm sure that's the fight the Japanese are going to be looking at down the track, but it's an interesting one, Batman, because when you look at it, we touched on it earlier that Bam hasn't really got a lot of options at 115. I know he looks like he's going to have the Estrada rematch or maybe Guevara, but apart from that, not much. So does he maybe look at maybe going up to 118 and fighting? Maybe it's not Junto Nakatani. Who's the Japanese fighters always sort of get mixed up, but. So you got Yoshiki Takai, WBO, Ryosuke Nishida with the IBF, Takuma Inouye at WBA with the WBA, and Nakatani with the WBC. So what has he got now? The WBC. So he would be the mandatory for Nakatani, but who knows? Maybe he goes over there first and fights one of either Inouye, Nishida. Who just say he's going to Ioka? Okay, so maybe. Unification with Ioka. Where's Ioka in the scheme of things there, Junto? Has he got a... Am I looking at the wrong division here? Because he's not... anyway, fill me in. Sorry. Whatever the unification is, that maybe Bam goes over and fights maybe Takuma Inouye or Nishida or Takai and maybe wins one of those belts and sets up a big unification fight at 118 down the track. But he's not a really big guy, remember. It's not like he's tall and lean. He's got a bit of frame to put the extra weight on. He's only a small guy, so will he be able to fight at 118 effectively? I know Inouye's done it okay, and he's not a big guy either, but fascinating. Fill me in on that unification there, Batman, because all these the Japanese fighters, they sort of all mixed into one with me, where they're all because there's so many of them with so many belts over there at the moment. So fill me in on that one if you can. To Lopez, I felt Tszyu was underwhelming, to be honest. Have to stop a guy on that level. Yeah, well, whoever said before, Batman, maybe he just doesn't have the power at the weight to get him out of there, and it's going to be a bit of an issue, especially if he does come up against someone like a Isaac Cruz. Tough guy, and he's also talking about moving up to 154 to fight Crawford. So I just don't think he can carry that type of weight, Lopez. I think even at 147 he might struggle. So, yeah, some interesting times ahead for Tszyu, Batman. But I suppose if I was him, I would be aiming for who we got there. Hang on, we'll go back to... I'd definitely be looking at the Liam Paro fight if I was Tszyu, 100%. I think he would see that as probably the lesser light of the division, Liam just being the new champion. Isaac Cruz, I said, and maybe, well, he's already beaten Sandor Martin, hasn't he? So maybe he doesn't go for that either. But Liam Paro does make a lot of sense if you ask me, Batman. I think he would see that as a very winnable fight. It'd be great to have it here in Australia. I'm not sure whether we've got the money to put it on here. I'm sure we would. But to get Teofimo Lopez to Australia, that would be awesome to fight Liam Paro. All right, Kyle Puello has been upgraded from in-between champ. Puello, that's who I'm thinking of. Why did I have Martin in my head then? Sorry about that. Yeah, the rankings aren't up to... Yeah, sorry. Alberto Puello, yeah, of course. Yeah, because who did he beat just recently? Anyway, yeah, sorry, mate. Sandor Martin is his mandatory. Apologies. Yes, you are right. Yep. Yep. But he's the interim champion. Haney is the champion in recess. Yep. Yep. Thanks, Cole. Glenn, you Queensland Dills are getting smashed, old mate. Now, let's keep it nice and civil in the chat there, boys. All right, Sam. CBS basically outright said, this is Billum Smith, basically outright said that Jai would be the last fight he would choose to take in the division. Staying for undisputed next year, unsurprising, can't see that being anywhere competitive. No, I'm with you there, Sam. Jai's in an interesting position at the moment. And we'll go to his division, of course, cruiserweight, 200 pounds. They don't have the bridgerweight on the rankings at the moment, probably because there's only about 5 fighters that are at bridgerweight. But anyway, all right, so a quick look at the cruiserweights at the moment. So you got Jai as the IBF champion. You've got Billum Smith as the WBO champion. Gilberto Ramirez is the WBA champion, and Badu Jack is the WBC champion. Although Noel McCallion I'm pretty sure he's still the interim champion, even though he's listed here as the champion. But anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, look, I think Jai Opetaia, Sam, beats all of those guys, whether it be Badu Jack, Zerto Ramirez, or Billum Smith. He's mandatory for Jai is Hussein Sin Cara. Now, I must admit, I haven't seen Sin Cara fight. And again, the number 2 ranking is vacant. I don't know how, again, you can have a ranking that's vacant, but it is. And there's not really much in there for Jai Opetaia. There's Matus Masternak. Look, we know him, of course, he beat, who was it? Jason Waitley. It's only Monday and I'm struggling. So he beat Jason Waitley a couple of years ago, so we've seen a bit of him. Not really much for him, Sam, apart from for either guy, really. It's not really. So it's either unification for Jai will move up, as far as I'm concerned. There's too much money to be made at heavyweight, and if he hasn't got those guys lining up to fight him, then why wait around? None of those guys in his division. You got Breedis at 4, of course. He's already beaten him twice. Masternak at number 5. Not really much else out there for him. So I would think if he can't get a unification fight against one of those other guys, then simply move up and be done with it. Make the move and just start. I think I've said on here before, maybe just start a little bit more cautiously than what you might have if you had waited a year or 18 months, whatever it might have been, to move up. Just move up to heavyweight and have a couple of fights against sort of 15 to 20 ranked type of guys and test the waters, and then step into the big guys first, or step to the big guys after that. But Bill and Smith, I mean, geez, I just don't understand the mentality of you're a world champion, but you don't want to fight the best fighters in your division. I don't get it. And Jai, on the other hand, is saying, hey, I don't care who it is, bring it on, I'm ready to go. So, all right, Glenn. How funny was the Usyk video gifting the IBF belt to Dubois and Joshua? I've never laughed so hard. It was to Fury there, Glenn. Boss move, all right. Yeah, well, the good thing is I got a feeling that the is it Turkey Al Sheikh has said to Usyk, hey, we need a belt on the line for September for Joshua and Dubois. We need a belt. So can you maybe give up that IBF belt so they can both fight for it? And Usyk said, oh yeah, whatever. He's probably got paid to do it, by the way, to give up the belt. But the way he's then come out on social media and said pretty much, yeah, here's an early Christmas present for you boys. Here's the IBF belt. It's almost like, there you go, boys. You play with my leftovers. Because remember, he's 3-0 against both of those guys, and that's why I found it a little bit funny, if I'm being honest, that at the press conference you had Dubois standing up there with the chest puffed out, with the belt over his shoulder. I understand they're marketing the fight, and they've got to get it out there and all the photos, and it's got to be on the posters and all the media and all that sort of stuff with a belt. But you think he would have been standing up there feeling a little bit awkward, thinking that he's being given a belt from the guy that stopped him and has also beaten his opponent twice as well. I just would have thought he would have been a little bit uncomfortable standing there with that IBF belt over the shoulder. But Glenn, I'm with you there, mate. It was definitely a boss move, wasn't it? And I understand it looks great for the poster and the walk out with a belt and have it in the title. It's a heavyweight title fight, all the rest of it. But we're not all stupid. We all know it's a paper champion belt, and Usyk is the champion no matter what happens. So, but I get it that Turkey Al Sheikh would have said, "Hey, we need it. We need a real belt on the line here. We're going to add a little bit of." Actually, do you reckon they really needed to have the belt on the line? We know they're going to get 90,000 there, whether it's for a belt or not. But anyway, I suppose it makes them feel better and maybe gives them a little bit more bargaining power with Fury or Usyk, whoever wins that fight. So the IBF title would be an easy belt for Tim to collect. That's at 154. Yeah, look, I think Murtazaliev would be a tough fight, Batman, but I'm with you. I think Tim Tszyu would win that quite comfortably, but still, it would be a tough fight. The Russians, they're just made out of steel, some of these guys. What's up, BJ? My daughter Anastasia says hello. Please give her a shout out. Sitting next to me, the way Skye's going, Anastasia will get a title shot, and she's only 6. Well, hello, Anastasia. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're keeping your dad in line, and you're getting a little bit of boxing training that you might one day win that WBC featherweight belt that Skye Nicholson has around her waist. But thank you for watching. Appreciate it. I'm going to send you, I've got a spare Carlton scarf or something around here. I'm going to send it to you, and you can wear it proudly when the Blues win the 2024 Premiership. All right, Kyle. Justice Huni, Troy Pilcher, 25th of July. I did see that. Tasman finally has another show going. One more name for Huni on the domestic level, but can we please see the McKean fight before the year ends? Don't think that's going to happen, Kyle. The McKean fight will not happen. I can probably assure you of that. Not just this year, but at all. I've got a feeling that there's been there's a little bit of friction between the promotional firms, which happens all over the world. It's not just here in Australia. Never more exemplified than in the States at the moment with Golden Boy and Eddie Hearn and everyone over there. But it's not going to happen, mate. The McKean and Huni. I think McKean probably should have some sort of comeback fight for starters. That would probably help. I know he's been training. I'm just going to put in. I did see it announced the other day. I actually got a message from Mick Francis with a press release about it and forgot all about actually sharing it like I was told to do. All right, so he's fighting. That is at the Fortitude Music Hall on July 25th. So a quick turnaround. All right, so on that card, okay, thanks for pointing it out, Kyle. We'll go through the card here. So we've got Lucas Miller coming off that first round knockout of Matt Sheen. He's fighting Clay Waterman. Good fight. Really good fight. Lucas Miller 12-6-2, but on a bit of a win streak. Clay Waterman 12-1. Who did he lose to? I thought he was undefeated. Lost to Kareem Hackett. Okay, yep, no, that was in the States. That's right. All right, so we've got Austin Akuso up against Saksham Singh. Don't know much about him. Max McIntyre up against Sumit Malik. Don't know much about Sumit Malik either. Xavier Fletcher 2-0. Geez, I must have a discount on fares from Samoa, unless it's I don't know, because there's a few. Although no, Singh is from India. All right, not sure why we can't get fighters from Australia, but anyway, Xavier Fletcher, Sutama Manuel, and Ben Mulville against Jordan Towns. But I think anyway, it's great to have Austin Akuso on that card. Of course, Lucas Miller, Clay Waterman will be a good fight, and Huni versus Troy Pilcher. So I'm glad they've been able to get someone for Justice Huni, because I know it's been a real tough time getting fighters to fight Justice Huni here in Australia. He did fight overseas, of course, on the Saudi card. When was that, by the way? Was that late last year? When was it? No, it was March this year. I thought it was late last year. That was against Kevin Lorena. Won that 10-round decision. That's right. So Troy Pilcher, of course, coming off that win over Reynold Quinlan, who was a late replacement. Hasn't really had any big wins apart from that. I mean, not that the Reynold Quinlan fight was a really big win. Quinlan was coming off, I think, how many losses? A lot. He'd had that, a couple there. But anyway. So, yeah, all right. Thanks, Kyle. That will be a good fight. I think Justice Huni, you'd think, would have Troy Pilcher's measure. But July 25th, if you're in Queensland, get to the Fortitude Music Hall. Should be a great night. All right, Batman, I agree. Tszyu's power going forward is in question. Well, look, I'm not saying you got to have elite power to succeed in the sport anymore. I mean, you look at even the best fighters we've got out there. I mean, you look at someone like Lomachenko, is not a big puncher. Devon Haney's not a big puncher. Usyk, well, I was going to say Usyk's not a big puncher. He's an okay puncher, not so much at heavyweight, but the skill will get you over the line in a lot of those fights. And Tszyu has plenty of skill, and plenty, great technique and everything else. But if he does come up against someone like a Boots Ennis or an Isaac Cruz, where you need something to keep those guys off you, is he going to be able to do it? Because we've seen with Devon Haney and Ryan Garcia, you would think that Haney's ability, Garcia's he's got good technique, but he's limited in certain ways. I don't think he's anywhere near as talented as Devon Haney, but look what he did to him just by pure power. Good game plan, of course. So I think someone like Tszyu, even though he's got good technique, would he be able to hold off a Boots Ennis or an Isaac Cruz? I was at the Isaac Cruz Roller Romero fight in Las Vegas, pretty close up to the ring. I could see that he's just a little beast. I know you can see it on the TV screen, of course, obviously, but to be up sort of close and hear the power and the grunting and the everything else of Isaac Cruz, he's a little monster. So I think he would give Tszyu a lot of problems because Tszyu likes to fight to his own pace. He doesn't like to be out of his comfort zone. And that's why Clagett had some success early. He just didn't have the technique and the power to really take advantage of that. But Isaac Cruz, not that he's super skillful or anything like that, but just a hard little nut who's just not going to stop for 12 rounds. So there is some options for him going forward, Tszyu, but I think he's going to have to be very carefully matched. I think Catterall's a good fight for him. Maybe Prograis might be another one they might put in with him as well. Maybe Rolly Romero. Who knows? But if he's looking for the best fights possible for the fighters that are available, obviously it's Liam Paro. All right, Kyle. CBS wants Zerto. Mikhailian wants CBS. And Zerto doesn't look picky. When's the last time he fought? Ramirez. Was it? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong fighter. All right, Ramirez. Where are you? There's a few Gilberto Ramirez out there. There he is, Zerto Ramirez. So last fought, just coming up now. One day, hopefully. All right, while it's thinking of that, we'll move on. That being said, if Jai wants to team up with Liam in October, I could see him match up with Mikhailian. Yeah, maybe. That's the Liam Paro fight, I'm assuming. I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight, by the way. But it doesn't, like... Maybe it's just box rec. But anyway, yeah, what do you got there? So I would think, well, Jai's not on that September card either, is he? So, which really surprised me. I thought he would have been one of the main fights on that card. That was the talk, and he's not even on the card. So what do you got there? That being said, Jai, if he wants to team up with Liam in October, I could see him match up with Mikhailian. Yeah. Well, they are both with Matchroom, so that obviously makes sense. So what is it now? Start of July. I would think that Jai might want to fight before October though, Kyle. Unless he wants to get a quick one in now and then fight again in October. But as I said, I thought he would have fought in September on that Joshua card. And then maybe... was that the card they were looking at him fighting on? Or was it the Bivol, Beterbiev card? That's October, I think, isn't it? So anyway, either way, I'm sure he'll be on one of those cards. I'm rambling on here. Plenty of options anyway for Jai. Well, maybe. Good to see Zerto. When did he last fight? Sorry, I was looking at that. He fought in March. Okay, I'm thinking of the Joe Smith fight. That was in October last year. So yep, he fought again in March. So who knows? Maybe he will come to the party. So what's he got? The WBA title. Yep. Okay. All right, Tommy, how you going there, mate? Evening all. Talking the other week how hard it's financially to put on good shows for 7+, but Ibby Bella, Jalen Tate is a cracker. Domestic fight coming up. Couldn't agree more, Tommy. What a fight card that will be. I'm going to, actually, while we go, I'm going to type up that card as well, because when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is what the Premier Boxing Series was supposed to be. And this is also the type of fights that No Limit was supposed to be putting on as well. And I know The Nathaniel May fight was going to be looked like it was going to be a really good fight. I understand the fight's off now. Nathaniel May is injured. But these are the fights that I would think that 7+ looking at saying these are what we want for our customers. We don't want the one-sided fights where it might be an Aussie against an import. Aussies versus Aussie, that's what the fans want to see. And I can't think of a better fight for a headliner than Ibi Bella and Jalen Tate. That fight is on the 20th of this month, of course. Ibi Bella coming off that win over Dib. And Jalen Tate had the scary, what was it? Alexander Espinoza had the getaway or the get out from Espinoza. Was it 97, 92, 96, 93, and he lost 95, 94 on the other card. The great escape he had a couple of times. All right, so that card, so we've got Bella and Tate. Bella is 16-2. Tate is 15-0. We've got Dylan Biggs on the undercard, 10-1. He's up against Marcus Haywood, who's 9-6-2. So a comeback fight there. This is going to be an interesting fight. Rocky Ogden, 6-1. He's coming up again against Cheng Yang, who's 7-4. Of course, stopped Rocky Ogden last time in a very impressive performance in the 6th round. It was because interesting that before that, Cheng was obviously 6-4. And had lost, so he'd lost in China, he'd lost in Macau, he'd lost in China again, and lost in the Philippines. So he'd lost before that fight. He'd lost 4 of his, he'd lost 4 out of 5 fights. All decision losses, though. Hadn't been stopped. He's a tough young guy. Did he get stopped? No, he didn't. Hang on, what have I got? I'm sorry, I take that back. He got stopped in China against Yanyi Zhang. So that will be a good fight as well. And then we have Joshua Nantes, who's 4-0 against Cody Beacon, who's 6-2. So a good little fight night there. I like it. I really like it. They haven't actually got the rounds up there, but I would assume, so Bella and Tate is 10. I would assume that Nantes and Beacon might be 4. Biggs and Haywood, you would think would maybe be 8, and Ogden, Chen Yang would be 8 as well. So either way, that is on the 20th of July from the Southport Sharks in Queensland. So check that one out, guys. But I'm with you there, Tommy. It should be an awesome fight card. Damien. Come on, Damien. Isn't that funny how the Essendon supporters get all salty? I'm servicing my car this weekend. Could you see me that scarf? Yeah. You wish, Damien. The Bummers. No good, Damien. Same old, same old. Who they got this week? Who's going to pump them this week? Collingwood, I think they've got. You watch the Collingwood will flog the Bombers, and then it'll be officially wheels would have fallen off, mate. So it's good while it's lasted. It's lasted anyway, Damien. Isn't it funny how as the year goes on, Essendon, they promise a lot. Have not beat a team in the top 8, Damien. Have not beat a team in the 8. And I think they're, 4th on the ladder? I think Essendon, or 5th, whatever, have not beat a team in the 8. That tells you all you want to know. All right, let's get back to boxing. Tszyu has plenty of talent, but style-wise, the lack of power, especially if he moves up to 147, will be a problem. I think it'll be a big problem to Batman. As I said, I don't think it's a be-all and end-all, but it depends on who you're fighting. And the way he likes to lay on the ropes or in the corner and just tease his opponent to come at him, that's just suicide coming up against those really hard, solid guys like Cruz and Boots Ennis or one of these types of guys. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure that would be wise. But we'll see. I think he'll carry 147 okay on his frame. It's just a matter of whether, as you point out there, whether he's going to have the power to keep those guys off. But again, we'll see. Tszyu is a counter-puncher. He needs power as he lacks volume, unlike Usyk, Bivol, Loma, etc. Loma, I think, gets by the precision punching. Just a brilliant fighter where, again, he doesn't punch necessarily hard. Does throw in volume sometimes, not so much at lightweight, but he certainly did in the lower divisions. But he makes up with just that unbelievable style and technique that he has. Bivol was the same. Bivol is just a big, scary type of fighter. Again, he's not a big puncher, but he can punch when needed to. But he's just that style where he's in and out. It's just Bivol's just a complete fighter. I just love watching him fight. Usyk, yeah, look, it's an interesting one with Usyk. I think Usyk is a high pressure fighter even at heavyweight. He's a high pressure fighter, which is probably what's bothered a lot of his opponents. And he has rocked fighters as well. He's obviously rocked Fury. He's rocked Joshua. He got Dubois out of there. So, yeah, he can punch, but I think, again, it's more that, like I say there, the volume punching. Tszyu, yeah, you're right. He's a different type of fighter, but I think he's going to need to add another dimension. It might just be something like not standing in the corner on the ropes at any stage. Because if you looked yesterday, when he got on his toes and gave Clagett some angles, Clagett couldn't even get anywhere near him. So I think he would need to do that against some of those guys. Because if he lays on the ropes or in the corner, he's in a lot of trouble, and he's going to get hurt. So I think that would be my advice to him. Look, he's a brilliant counterpuncher, like you said there. He has got really good technique, good footwork, good speed, can punch in volume when needed. But I think he needs to really maybe get on his bike a little bit at the heavyweights if he's going to be effective. Cruz is a beast. Such a compact target and just has some serious power and is relentless. I think it also depends on the mindset that Cruz comes in with. I mean, the fight with Romero, he was just on a mission, wasn't he? And he gave Gervonta Davis one hell of a fight as well. So, and he's been unlucky a couple of times. I'll just type his record in there as well. Who's he got? There's a few Isaac Cruzes around too. All right, so he's 26-2, 1 draw. So, of course, he's fighting Jose Valenzuela in another month. Who was his other loss beside Davis? Must have been early. Oh, yeah. So, Luis Montano Alvarez back in 2016. He lost a split, unanimous 12-round decision to. So, yep, he's had some good wins. Earned his world title shot and then obviously made the most of it against Rolly Romero. He's probably one of the weaker champions, but he's beaten Gamboa, Romero, of course. Cabrera was a good prospect at the time. What was that one for? The WBC Silver. Okay, I didn't think that was for a world title. So a good resume, Isaac Cruz, and I just don't think the way Cruz fights, where he comes in, he starts low and stays low and gets on your chest, and then he just won't leave you alone. I'm just not sure whether that style is right for Lopez if he lays on the ropes again or in the corner. I think if he gave Cruz some real lateral movement, did not stand still and allow Cruz to really dig in, maybe he's a chance. But he would have to be in very, very good condition to do that for 12 rounds. Because you know that Isaac Cruz, they don't call him the pitbull for nothing. He's coming 12 rounds and he's just not going to stop. So, all right, Damien. All right, we're still on the footy. What do we got? Collingwood will win by 1 point. After being down by 5 goals at three-quarter time, Damien, they just do it every time. 100%, that's what we have always done. Start off good and end shit. That's why every Essendon supporter needs a second team. Hang in there, Damien. I think you'll be up there another year or two. You'll be just like Carlton is now. I've got no doubt. Some very, very good players, the Bombers. Some really good young players coming through. And I've got no doubt in a couple of years' time, it'll be Essendon challenging the Blues and probably Collingwood as well. So some good, exciting times for the Bombers. As much as I hate Essendon, I can see what they're doing, and I think they're going to be a very, very good side in another year or two, mate. Well, they're already there in the top 4 or 5 now, aren't they? All right, Kyle, looks like we're on to the girls. What do we got? Shanika's been screwed by the WBA. She's just been assigned 2 mandatories in Jamie Mitchell and then Nina Hughes. Nick should challenge them to 12 by 3-minute rounds, considering they're aged 40. Well, you'd think the Nina Hughes fight's got to happen, Cole. Look, I thought Shanika Johnson won the first fight, but the circumstances of it, you would think that they need to do the right thing. So what? I haven't got the rankings up here for the girls. So she lost to Mitchell, didn't she? That's who she lost the IBF belt to. I'm not quite sure. All right. So, sorry, Ali Scottney, who I was thinking of. Sorry, she was the one I was thinking of. Yeah. All right, so Not sure. What's Ellie Scotney done since that fight, by the way? Has she even fought? Oh, she has a couple of times. There you go. Good old Laura Griffer. I've seen her fight a few times, and she won back in April. Okay. So you would think, yeah, the Nina Hughes fight would be next. Where does the WBA stand on the 12 by 3 minute round thing, Kyle? I think, no, hang on. It was the WBC, wasn't it? They're the ones that said they won't do it. So now they get righteous on us, the WBC. So why has she got 2 mandatories? Kyle, fill me in, mate. I'm going to bring up Jamie Mitchell at the moment. He's a good little fighter as well. All right. Hang on. Wrong one. That's a light heavyweight. That's not her. Where are we? No, not on there. Is it Jamie? Who is it? Jamie? Yeah, Mitchell. All right. Forget that. Can't find her. Hang on. Now I've got her. Sorry. That's her. Is that her? 2-1? No, she's got her record's better than that, isn't it? 2-1. Sorry, guys. I'm just thinking out loud here. Yeah, no, there's okay, 9-1-2. All right, fill me in there, Kyle. Sorry. Apologies to everyone that's watching me just fuddle around here and listening on Spotify after the fact here that I've just gone radio silence. But I don't know anything about that, Kyle. Let us know. I don't know what's going on with the girls. Let's have a look at the schedule there too, there, guys and girls. See what we've got happening as well. Not many talking. What do we got there? All right, so Kyle. Mitchell was the mandatory for the winner of Hughes, but the WBA, I'm assuming, want to run back the rematch. Yeah, well, as I said, Kyle, I think it's right though, isn't it, to give Nina Hughes the rematch? I mean, just the circumstances alone. I mean, it just broke her heart. She wins the belt or retains the belt, and they take it off her. So I can see why they're doing the right thing by giving her the rematch. Again, I thought she won the first fight, Shanika, but Hughes deserves a rematch, I think. All right, let's have a look at some of the fights coming up. Keep the comments coming there, guys. We'll go through what's happening over the next couple of weeks in Australia. This weekend in Campsie, looks like New South Wales, Alex Walters fighting Emmanuel Danso. That looks like a pretty good fight. Not much. There's another one in Tamworth. Don't recognise any of those fighters. Then next Wednesday, the big one. Well, I say the big one. The next big pay-per-view from No Limit. Sam Goodman. Now, what's his name again? His box rec name is a bit different. What is it? Inouye Warawat is his name. 25-0-1. All right. Now, did he? No, he didn't fight. I thought he might have fought one of the twins. No, sorry. Wrong one. All right. So on that card, Liam Wilson, Yusuf Dib. We've got Monia Fathi up against Anton Markovic. We've got Brandon Garush against John Malia. We've got Barry Hall against Curtis Scott. Billy Polkinghorne against Jordan Castellieri. Liam Talavai against Johan Lind, and Chanel Dargan, Panaporn Kolpa Wong. Okay, so it's that 2, 4, 6, 8 fight. So are you going to pay for it? I'll get it because I'll do the watch along. But what do you guys think? Are you going to watch it or not? All right, any word on Canelo yet, or will announcement be this month? The announcement's coming soon, Damien. And it looks like Canelo may forego that September date. Now, he always fights on Mexican Independence Day or weekend, which is mid-September. It's the second Saturday in September. And there is word that this year he will forego that and maybe fight another opponent before the end of the year. There is, even more alarmingly, that it might be William Skull. That might have been the agreement. I've still got my hopes that it might be Belunga in September, but there is talk, as I said, that Canelo will wait until October or November to fight. I don't know, that's sort of to set in with, maybe it's to fit in with the Crawford thing. I know he said a few times he's not going to fight Crawford, but if Canelo fights in October, November, whatever it might be, then he'll go again in May. Maybe that's when Crawford will be ready to fight if they do go ahead with that fight. But that's all I've heard so far, Damien, is that there is talk that Canelo won't fight in September. He'll wait. And I'm just hoping if that is the case that they do get another fight in Vegas that weekend, because I'll probably be there. Sitting out front of T-Mobile Arena or the MGM Grand, twiddling my thumbs, watching great fights on YouTube. That'll probably be the best I'll have to do. But there is word that if he doesn't fight, someone else. I think the MGM might be booked for that weekend, so they might get someone else to fight. I don't know. But there will be an announcement pretty soon, mate, because if he's going to fight in September, you would think it has to be within the next sort of week or two. Although, it's July. July. So it's only 2.5 months away. So you would think it'd have to be in the next two weeks, I would think. All right. Kyle, Lieutenant Dan bloody Hennessy. What's he done? I didn't want to see him retire, but I would have at least demoted him to private. Well, I'm glad he's hung around. I mean, he copped it from everywhere, Lieutenant Dan. Look, let's just face it, he stuffed up. And he was the first one to own it. Does it mean he should be kicked out of the sport? Absolutely not. He made a mistake, and it's happened many times before. He owned it, and we'll all move on. But, we think maybe next time they might demote him to maybe the undercard fights and bring in, an overseas, like a Jimmy Lennon Jr. or someone, if it's on a big card, that is. And Lieutenant Dan goes back to the undercard. But, look, I think he's paid a price. He copped it from everyone. People make mistakes. And the main thing is he admitted his mistake. And what do they say? When you admit that you're wrong, then you're immediately forgiven. So we forgive Lieutenant Dan. He's a good guy, and I think he does a really good job. Yes, I think maybe he should save the whole throwing the things up in the air and everything else. Let's make some noise. I think we've heard it enough times. I think we sort of yawn these days, but all the ring announcers must have their little shtick that they do, and that's his. I just wouldn't mind. Just get on with announcing the fighters and let's go. But I understand that the broadcasters like a bit of theatrics. I don't. All right, I knew this question had come up. Seriously, who's buying the Goodman pay-per-view? Well, I've got to, Glenn, because I'm going to do the watch-along, as I said. But I totally get that $70 is a lot of money. And if you didn't see it, I did sort of touch on the whole TV situation last week, I think it was, just as a standalone video on this channel. So check it out. I tried to explain just the way it works and the catch-22 we sort of have at the moment. And this is probably a classic example, the Sam Goodman pay-per-view. No Limit would need to charge $70. Well, I'll make the first argument here, and then I'll say again, I won't spend too much time because the comments will come through. But No Limit would look at it and need to spend or to charge $70 to pay for the event. This is probably a $350, $400, maybe even more. Might even be up to $500,000 card. You've got some big, well, when I say big names, guys like Barry Hall and Curtis Scott, don't be surprised if they're on like 75 to 100 each. Who knows? Could be more. Because that's what they'd be banking on to get people to watch the fight. Now, I don't know. I'm just guessing. But you would think that Sam Goodman and Warrawat might share 100K or something between them. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong again. I'm just sort of spitballing here. Liam Wilson and Yusuf Dib wouldn't be fighting for free. So who knows? It could be a $500,000 card or minimum 400 or whatever it might be. That's got to be paid for by someone, and that's obviously us, people that buy it. And I think I said the other day too, maybe a best case scenario might be 10,000 purchases. That's only $700,000. They've got to give half of that to main event. There's only $350,000, and even if they've got a gate of $150, that brings them up to $500. So there's not much money left to put the card on. So. But then the other argument is, well, maybe if they charge maybe $40 or whatever, or even $35, $40, whatever it might be, so half of what they charge now, they might get twice as many of you, and it doubles up. They get the same amount of income, but they also get more eyeballs on the event, and it's a bit of a snowball effect. So I see both sides of it. Being an ex-promoter myself, I totally get why they've got to charge $70 for the card. But I also totally understand that the people out there, the fans, are saying, well, stuff that. Well, I'm paying $30 for Usyk and Fury. Why the hell am I paying $70 for Sam Goodman? I don't think anyone has a real issue paying $70 for Tszyu or George Kambosos, Jai Opetaia maybe, although he's always been part of other cards. I don't think they would have a problem paying that, watching those guys in world title fights. But Sam Goodman, yeah, I just don't think cuts it. But I will say one thing too, though. The promotion they've used on TV has been first class. I love it. They've got a TV commercial out at the moment, or a little video thing where they're at the casino. Love it. I think that's really, really well done. The problem is people say, yeah, that's a great little ad you've put together there, but I still ain't buying it. So it's a tough situation for the boys, I would think. All right, Glenn, no taxi drivers available in September. This is Canelo you're talking about. Geez, Glenn, don't be too hard on our man Canelo. He's look, I think he's no taxi drivers. I think he's built up a little bit of a few brownie points, hasn't he, Glenn? But I get it. If you're not going to fight Beterbiev, who's just, by the way, has chosen to go back to 168. The WBC gave him the option of whether he was going to be mandatory at 168 or 175. He's opted, from what I know, to go back to 168. Just didn't look the same fighter at 175, did he? So he's also got decisions to make. Do I go to 175 where I make the weight a lot easier and I feel a lot more comfortable? But then he comes up against bigger guys and he doesn't have that real weight advantage that he has at 168. So I think you've been a little bit unkind there, Glenn, to our man Canelo. But I think until he fights Beterbiev, especially now he said he wants to be the number one challenger, he's going to continue to cop it. And it's amazing looking at a lot of the websites out there or forums or whatever it might be, the backlash and the negativity towards Canelo these days. And I know he's only got himself to blame. He could probably solve all this by fighting Beterbiev. I think he's done a pretty good job. I think he's done a pretty good job so far of fighting everyone around him. I'm just going to quickly bring up his record here because, I mean, you take Beterbiev out of the equation. I mean, I just think he's done everything that's asked. Jaime Munguia, I think apart from Beterbiev, that was the biggest fight out there for Canelo, and he beat him. Jamal Charlo, okay, granted, but Charlo was the undisputed 154-pound champion. I understand he went up, I get that, but still beat him conclusively. John Ryder had a really good lead up to that fight. John Ryder, he'd earned his shot. Before that, Triple G. I know Triple G was past it, but he just had to do the job and did it unanimously. Bivol, of course, was the loss. Caleb Plant stopped Caleb Plant. Not a bad effort from Canelo. Billy Joe Saunders, he was the WBO world champion, stopped him as well. Yildirim was just the mandatory that he chucked in between his 2 fights per year. So I know I'm sticking up for Canelo here, but he'd had the September fight against Callum Smith, and then he had the May fight against Billy Joe. And in between, just to keep everyone happy, he fought Avni Yildirim. So you got to give him some credit. Before that was the Crusher, Kovalev. Before that was Daniel Jacobs. Rocky Fielding again snuck in between. He had Triple G in September. Then he had Jacobs in May. He snuck Rocky Fielding in between to win that WBA super middleweight title. So, I don't know. I just don't think you can give Canelo too much grief about who he's fought. I understand the Beterbiev situation. I get it. But apart from that, I just think he's done absolutely everything that's been asked of him has Canelo. So, anyway, taxi drivers, we'll see, Glenn. Look, having said all that, if he fights William Skull anytime in the future ever, whether it's September, November, May next year, I don't care. I'm going to be, I might have 1 foot off the bandwagon, I think. 1 foot off. Damien, smart move. UFC's doing a monster card on that September date and backed by the Big Turkey. Yeah, they are. And that's the other thing, Damien. This is why maybe I'll go to the UFC instead if I'm there. But yeah, you're right. The UFC have booked the Sphere in Las Vegas on that date, which is, I think, December the 14th, I think it is. Hang on, I'll get my little calculator out. It's either the 13th or 14th, I think. Oh, hang on, that's me. Hang on. Where are we? September. It will be, hang on. The 12th. Oh, that's October. Sorry about that. September. The 14th. So September the 14th it will be. That's the UFC event at the Sphere in in Las Vegas. I'm not sure how they're actually going to do that at the Sphere as well, by the way, because there's only one side that has the seats, and then they have a stage at the front. And then you got the whole surround is one big screen. So you're going to be surrounded by the fight on this big screen. I don't know how they're going to do it. It should be great to see, but yeah, but maybe I'll go to that instead, Damien. I don't know. Who's fighting on there? Is Conor McGregor going to fight there? He's probably the only UFC fighter I really know apart from Volkanovski. But yeah, I did hear, though, that they were still going to go up against that Damien. Maybe what they've said is that we still want to have a boxing event that weekend, but we're not going to put our main star up against it. Because if that is the Munster card in September, I understand why they, especially if Canelo doesn't fight a really big name. And even if it was Benavidez, I don't think it makes sense to put on that date either, because you got two massive events on the same night. It just doesn't make sense to have them go head to head. But it also doesn't make sense to have Canelo fight a William Scull or one of these guys. It'll just get sort of buried by the UFC. So maybe they might have some, maybe a couple of world title fights on the MGM just to put the card on for the boxing fans who love coming to Vegas for that weekend, but not a massive card that tries to take on the UFC. But I'm hoping either way, mate. Please have something on, or else I'll be looking for some cancellation fees, I think. All right. Oh, hang on. We'll go back to Tommy. How are you, Tommy? With Beterbiev coming off a meniscus rupture at 39 years of age, are you swaying toward Bivol for the October matchup? I will say. I was going to go for Bivol anyway, Tommy. I think Beterbiev is just a tough guy. Like all the Russians, he's made of iron. But for some reason, I just like Bivol. I think he's also made of that Russian steel. And I think he has the boxing ability to go with, to outbox Beterbiev, but also just enough snap in his punches and the technique. Because almost like you need a Russian to beat a Russian, if that makes sense. Someone like Beterbiev. And I know Bivol's not the exact type of fighter that Beterbiev is, but you need a fighter cut from the same sort of cloth that's not going to be bulldozed by Beterbiev. He's going to be tough and hard and stay in there and be able to go with him. And he's got that Russian style himself to maybe counteract a little bit of what Beterbiev has got. Beterbiev is that Russian bulldozer, where Bivol was more the Russian sword fighter type of thing from a distance. I know he can punch, but he can box. And I just think Bivol's just got the Russianness about him, if that makes sense. I know it's not a word, but the Russianness about him to hang with Beterbiev, and especially with that meniscus rupture, Tommy. Bivol's been active. Beterbiev hasn't fought. When was it? I know was it late last year he fought? There's been that many of these Saudi cards. I sort of lose track of who fought on what. Beterbiev. Let's have a look. Got him down as being Canadian, by the way. But he is from Russia. All right, so last fought in January, okay, against Callum Smith with that 7th round stoppage. So by the time they get in the ring, he would have been out, 10 months, 9 months? Not a long time. I'm sure he'll be okay, but at 39 years of age, Bivol on the other, and they actually haven't got the Bivol fight actually on BoxRec yet, which is a little bit concerning as well. But Bivol has fought, what have we got there? Dimitri. Hang on, I spelt that wrong. Yep, there he is. I know, they've got him as different spelling. All right, so he fought in December last year against Lyndon Arthur and then Malik Zanad just recently. So he would have been out of the ring for 4 months, and he's a lot younger than Beterbiev. He's 33. Beterbiev is 39. So that in itself as well would make me tip Bivol in that fight, mate. But I just hope we get to see it, mate. I don't really care who wins. I just hope we get to see it, and you can hang in there. All right, Tommy, do you know if Inouye is still fighting Sam Goodman after Downey? Well, that's the plan, Tommy. Inouye is supposed to be, they said fighting Downey, and Goodman is fighting Warrawat. So when is the Inouye fight? That's September, isn't it? Has actually been an announcement of that fight? I don't think there has. Inouye. All right. A Munster. All right. So, no, hasn't been announced just yet. So, I would think that, you'll have Inouye and Doherty probably in September, I'm probably thinking. And then, or even August maybe. Then you'll have Inouye and Goodman fighting at the end of the year. So, Inouye likes to keep busy. So, I think he'll get in another fight before the end of the year. He has fought... actually, he's only fought once this year. So, maybe not. So maybe he might make Sam Goodman have a quick turnaround, although it is all the talk that it's going to be Doherty. So I don't know. Well, he's only fought once this year against Lewis Neary, of course, with that 6th round stoppage or knockout. And Goodman fighting, in a couple of weeks' time, or next week, isn't it? Yeah, next week. So, yeah, the timeline would be okay if it was Goodman and Inouye, but if they do that Doherty fight, I'm not sure, to be honest, Tommy. I know I've probably just done everything except answer your question there, but that is the plan as far as I know, that Goodman will fight Warrawat, win that, and he'll fight the winner of Inouye and Doherty. Well, he won't fight. He's already beaten Doherty. This is the other curious thing about this whole thing. Sam Goodman's already fought TJ Doherty, but Doherty's fighting for the world title. I just don't get it. Sam Goodman is fighting a world title eliminator instead of, well, he's apparently knocked back the world title fight to fight the world title eliminator. I will defend Sam a little bit, having said that, but apparently he had the fight with Warrawat already booked in before Inouye called him into the ring in Japan. But wouldn't you think it'd be, sorry, Warrawat, here's a little money to step aside if there's a clause in the contract, and if there's not a clause in the contract, we'll just rip it up. Wouldn't you say, if Inouye says to Goodman, he went to the trouble of getting him in the ring, mind you, wouldn't you think that Goodman would say, nah, I think I'll just hang back and wait until September, whatever it is going to be, for the Inouye fight, and tell Warrawat to go back to Thailand? That's intriguing to me. I understand he had the fight already booked, but why fight a world title eliminator if you've been offered a world title fight? Isn't that what you fight the eliminators for? I don't know. All right, we'll move on. All right. Bivol, easy for that exact reason, Tommy. So Glenn agrees with me. Canelo, Crawford in Vegas, Cinco de Mayo weekend next May. Yes, Ross. Well, if that's the case, I'll 100% be there. It does make sense, Ross. I know Canelo said he doesn't really want to fight, or it's not that he wants to fight, doesn't want to fight Crawford. He just doesn't make financial sense to him, he says, or business sense for him. But I just get a feeling if it came down to whether it's William Skull or Belunga or whatever it might be this year, he would say, well, if it's going to be Beterbiev or Crawford, either one, look, they're both extremely risky fights. I still think Crawford would be the bigger money fight, which obviously makes the most sense to Canelo. I think Canelo-Crawford pay-per-view sells a hell of a lot better than Canelo and Beterbiev. Beterbiev is the fight that hardcore boxing fans want him to fight, and I understand that. But for the punters out there, that maybe they cross between UFC and boxing or whatever it might be, that they would look at Canelo versus Crawford. Crawford would be a name to most casual boxing fans, and that makes a lot more sense as far as pay-per-view, especially if he's marketed as, former 2-time or 3-time, whatever, he's undisputed world champion against the current undisputed world champion. It's easy to market. But that fight, to me, as funny as it sounds, as much as Canelo says he doesn't really want that fight, I think it makes a hell of a lot of sense there, Ross. So, I'll be there for sure. Damien, I wouldn't pay $20 for that shit. This is Goodman and Warrawat. Watch the live, watch along here. 1,000 times better. Well, thanks, Damien. Yeah, I will be doing the watch along, giving my 2 cents worth. But, look, I'm with you. Look, I 100% understand why boxing fans like yourself would say, I'm not going to watch it, especially when either you can watch the watch along or get an illegal stream or whatever it might be, or watch it on YouTube the next day or whatever it's going to be. But the fact that you wouldn't pay $20 for it, geez, it's going to be a hard sell for No Limit, isn't it? If you're saying that, what are the other boxing fans out there saying? I did watch or have a look at a Facebook page the other day, I think No Limits page actually, and they had on there about the the pay-per-view, and I didn't see one comment on there that supported the event. Every single one was pretty much, are you joking? There's no way I'm paying $70 for that. So if they're relying on maybe 10, 12,000 people to buy this fight, I wouldn't want to be the bean counter at the end of the day, by what I've seen. So, but yeah, I'll be paying the $70, Damien. This is a sacrifice I make for you guys, that I'll pay it, and you can have the updates through me. Well, there we go. We've got Kyle. He disagrees. I'll pay for the pay-per-view. This one's not too bad, and anything else worldwide, I can back channel, so it's time to give back. Well, that's the thing, Kyle. I mean, if you can afford to pay $70 and you're willing to, then that's great. But I know there's, obviously with the cost of living these days, $70 it's still $70. It's a fair old bit of change to fork out, especially if you got. It seems like every week or two there seems to be some big fight that's on at the moment, whether it be DAZN or on pay-per-view here in Australia. So look, if I wasn't doing the watch-alongs, I would probably save the money and maybe save it for an American fight or the Saudi fights, whatever it might be later in the year. But I understand and appreciate, Kyle, you're doing it to support boxing, and that's good as well. Tommy says it seems like Turkey is bigger on paying for Bud versus Canelo than Canelo versus Beterbiev. Yeah, I think so too, Tommy. I think he likes the whole, not this. Look, I think I've got a feeling he's not really up with all the weight division stuff. He just sees this star versus this star, and that makes sense. So let's get them together. I mean, he was talking about, was it Canelo maybe going up to fight Jai Opetaia as a potential fight, or Bivol going up to fight Jai Opetaia or someone like that. So it's good to see that Turkey loves Jai Opetaia. That's great. But I think he looks at, and rightfully so, the biggest fights out there by name. Who can we get to fight each other and put the biggest events on? Because if he's going to fork out all this money, you may as well have the best fighting the best. So it's probably worth putting the question out there, are you prepared to fight him? And I'm sure maybe at some stage, or I think he did actually, was it Davis and Inouye? He was maybe looking, I don't think that fight was ever going to happen. You got Inouye, who's eating up to make 122 against Davis, who's a big, solid 135er. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I respect him for just putting it out there. And he's obviously done the same thing with Bud and Canelo. So who's next? Who's the other bigger stars out there? Is he going to want Loma to move up and fight Tim Tszyu or something? Who knows? Hanoi Tripper. Yep, just got the pub. Have a meal and beers, and will be $70. Yep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, just go to the pub. Not a bad call either, Hanoi. Go to the pub for $70. Yeah, you'll have many beers for that. You think although these days, went to the pub a couple of months ago just for a bar meal, if you want to call it that. It was a restaurant, and just had four of us went out, and it was I think I had a chicken parma, and the boys had, I don't know, a burger each, and Tara had some pasta or something, and that was probably about $150. So it's not cheap. So yeah, you're right, for about $70, probably cost you $25, $30 for a meal. Plus, well, what's the cost for a pot these days, or a pint? I don't even know. I don't drink at pubs, but maybe $70 won't go. But at least you get a good night out there, Hanoi. You get a meal, you get beers, and you see the fight. So not a bad. The other thing, of course, is to invite your mates over. Half a dozen of you put in $10, $12 each, and everyone has a good night. He's hard. That is a downside too, by the way, of putting the fights on a Wednesday night, a weeknight. I understand why they've got to do it. They don't want to compete with the footy codes and everything else that goes on the weekend. I understand that. But they're the nights where people like to get together for fight parties. Pretty hard, especially in the middle of winter, to get a heap of mates to your house on a Wednesday night and be there till 11:30 at night. So it's a bit of, again, a catch-22 thing. But I'm with you there, mate. Not a bad idea. Go to the pub, have a feed, have a couple of beers, and you get to see the fight. The other thing, though, Hanoi, is that do the pubs put it on? I know a lot of the big pubs do, but these days I know for a fact they ream publicans for putting the fights on. I had a sports bar about 15 years ago, and we were paying, this is when Mundine and Green and those guys were probably more at their peak. Might pay $2,500 to have the fight on. And I know they say you make it back, but again, they're midweek. A few people come and have a few Cokes. Pretty hard to get your money back for $2.5 grand. And on a Sunday, we'd have the American fights on. And again, they'd still charge $1,000 to $1,500 on a Sunday to try and get people to drink. It's pretty hard, especially if they'll have a few Cokes again, and that's about it. So on a Wednesday night, it's probably even harder. So anyway, each to their own. Tommy says, I'm hearing Wilder versus Coley could be a potential title fight at Bridgerweight. I think Wilder should jump on it. Maybe a big win could lure a cruiserweight like Opetaia up for a fight. Yeah, not a bad call, Tommy. I like that. I didn't actually hear that. But Wilder going down to Bridgerweight makes a hell of a lot of sense. It really does. And that would be a good fight at Bridgerweight. And you're right, Opetaia might say, okay, well, this might be a nice little way just to make the transition up to heavyweight. I can go to Bridgerweight, which is, how heavy is that? Is it 190? Is it? And cruiserweight might, no, hang on. What does it go? Cruiserweight is 190. So Bridgerweight must be, 200? And then above 200 is heavyweight, I think. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Wilder versus Opetaia, it's still got a ring about it. It's a good fight. I think Opetaia stops Wilder. And, but, it's a good name fighter for Jai. And again, it's that little transition up to heavyweight. So I don't mind that, Tommy. If that's the case, I'd like to see it. Yes, Glenn, fight Beterbiev, the end. And I like the fact you put exclamation marks or points at the end. I like it. The only thing you should have done, Glenn, is put it in capital letters. Apart from that, you did well. And I agree. All right, Batman. When Canelo beats Beterbiev, same guys will say it was Morel, not Beterbiev, and on and on. Canelo has 65 fights. Hold anyone to that same standard. You won't get 65 fights from anyone. I am with you there, Batman. Look, Canelo's a type of fighter, like Mayweather before him. Doesn't matter who they fight and when they fight them and what weight and what title and whatever it might be. They're always going to hate them no matter what. It's a bit like our man Donald Trump over in America at the moment. The old saying, you could cure cancer and they'll still hate him. That's just the way it is. No matter what you do for people and what you accomplish, don't put political stuff in, by the way, guys. We've only got about 20 minutes to go, so we're not going to get caught up in that. But no matter what they do, just can't please people. But I understand too. Glenn says there, fight Beterbiev, 100%. Agree with that, but I also agree with what you're saying there. If it's not Beterbiev, then it'll be, he waited him out. He waited him out till he was a little bit older, Beterbiev, or he was weight drained. Getting down to 168 was too hard for Beterbiev. It'll just be, he can't win. He can't win. The only way that probably Canelo could probably, I was just going to say maybe if Canelo went up to 175 and fought him, so there's no excuses for Beterbiev being weight drained. But then it'll be, no, but Beterbiev, his best weight's 168. It's not 175, and if it was 168, he would have beaten Canelo. And so it goes round and round and round. And Morel, mate, the guy's had 10 or 11 fights. Let's not even mention Morel. I don't even want to have him in the conversation. 10 or 11 fights, he doesn't deserve a crack at Canelo or Beterbiev for that matter. So I know has he got an interim title? He might have, I don't know. But let Morel go up and earn a shot at both of these guys. And having said that too, even the likes of Beterbiev and Bivol and these types of guys, he's got to earn his shot at the title as well. But I'm with you there, Batman. As I said earlier, even though I agree he should fight Beterbiev, one, I think he beats Beterbiev. And two, I think he's done pretty good over the journey to keep us boxing fans happy and entertained and content. All right, Glenn, Estrada fought Bam on the weekend. Old Lion versus Young Lion. Canelo has absolutely no excuse to fight Beterbiev and Morel. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with both of what you're saying there. I agree. But not Morel though, Glenn. Keep him out of it. He's got to earn. He doesn't deserve a shot at Canelo. Beterbiev does 100%. He deserves a crack. Morel doesn't. I'm just going to quickly bring him up, by the way. David Morel. There he is there. 10 fights. Come on. How does a guy with 10 fights be demanded to fight Canelo? I know he's technically got that WBA belt. Was it interim? Was it? I'm not sure. It would have been interim at 168. Of course it would have been. But I'm not seeing anyone on his resume that really jumps out. I mean, Agbeko was okay, I suppose. 28-2. Volcao, yeah, 24-1-1. But first round knockout in that fight too, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, and he's got there you go. He's actually got a fight lined up against Radovoj Kalajig, whatever. So that's that of course that's on the Crawford card. So that's for the WBA light heavyweight title, the vacant title. But I don't think he deserves a crack at Canelo, to be honest, after 10 fights. Just my opinion. But Glenn and Batman, I like the alternative views. It's good. All right. In this current era, Beterbiev was a champion at 168, like all the other champions at 168 at the time. Non-event, though, about the word unification. He hasn't actually won the world title either, has he, Batman? He's been interim champion in 2 divisions. So hasn't actually won a world title yet, Beterbiev. But again, he 100% deserves a crack at Canelo, even though I think Canelo wins. All right, Kyle, jump back to Skye. I wasn't happy with Diana Vargas, but it is what it is. It's a tune-up before Chapman, and I don't think Skye's happy with this one either. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, Kyle. Skye might be like, she's been told she's fighting Diana Vargas, and she's like, all right, well, let's get this one out the road as long as I can fight someone like Chapman next. So, or Serrano, whoever it might be. Benavides isn't able to campaign at 168, really. Failed weight twice, and all fight weeks said he'd fight at 175 to take over. Looks pretty average and says, 168. Yeah, well, I've got to agree with that too, Batman. And he look, it was a workmanlike performance from Benavides over Gvozdyk, but it wasn't super impressive. I thought he gassed out a little bit. I know he said he had an injury or something, but I just think at the weight, sometimes fighters just don't carry the weight well. And I just don't think he looked anywhere near as intimidating and as effective at 175 as what he did at 168. So he might be in a catch-22 situation as well. He makes 175 a lot easier, of course. He might struggle a lot to get down to 168, which might really inhibit his performance. But at 175, he's a bit sluggish. So I think at 168, I'm just not under any illusions at all. I just don't think he beats Canelo. I just don't. And at 175, I don't think he beats Beterbiev or Bivol either. So I've just never really seen what all the fuss is about with Benavides. I know he's a good, tough, hard, young fighter, but this whole monster thing about him, I've never really bought into it. And I think at some stage he's going to be exposed against someone. Might even be Canelo. Who knows? He might fight Bivol. If Bivol beats Benavides, Beterbiev. If Bivol beats him, maybe the next one could be Benavides. And I think Bivol would take Benavides apart. And I think Beterbiev probably would as well, although the age thing might be an issue. But I definitely think Bivol would absolutely take Benavides apart at 175. And I think Canelo does the job at 168. So... all right, Kyle, still on Skye. As for the rankings in Skye's featherweight division, they're all over the place, completely incorrect. When it comes to updating, the WBC are a nightmare with the girls. Vargas might be ranked. Yeah, I didn't see the girls' rankings earlier, Kyle. But again, it might not be Skye's decision. She's just been told she's got to fight her, and there might be some other things in place with the Vargas fight, and who knows, it might just be a lead into one of those bigger fights with the other girls. All right, they haven't announced the fight yet, but Dana is saying he's already put $17 million into the production. This is UFC. All right, well, if it's not Canelo or another fight, maybe I'll go anyway and go to the UFC, Damien. I did go to the UFC, when was it? It was Nate Diaz when he headlined. It was at the T-Mobile Arena. It must have been a couple of years ago. I'm not a big UFC fan anyway, Damien. I'll watch it occasionally if the big dogs are on, like McGregor or who else is there? Our man Volkanovski or Whitaker or one of those types of guys, but that's probably about it. And I was there, and just the whole vibe of the place is totally different to boxing. There's a lot of guys running around with sleeve tattoos and mullets and chest puffed out. There's a lot of testosterone at UFC events. A lot. At boxing, you normally, not to say you never get into trouble there, but boxing fans are normally pretty respectful. They're a different type of fan. The UFC are just completely. I saw about 3 fights in the crowd. I saw some sights, put it that way. But having said that, if it's a big event, why not? I'd love for our man Conor to be on the card. I know he didn't fight on the weekend, so maybe September makes a bit more sense for him. All right, Batman, back to the boxing. Obviously, the Munster didn't want to fight the real Munster. He no doubt walks around heavier than in Beterbiev. Yep, that's Bivol, I'm assuming you're talking about there. Tommy Dokes, Benavidez and Morrell were the most dangerous talents at 168, in my opinion. Unless they come back down to 168, there isn't a name that sticks out. Oh, and Billy, I forgot about him. If he beats, the Russian, Derry, you can see who I'm talking about there. I'll try and pronounce it. Yanchenko. Hang on. Derevyanchenko. The amount of times I've got on YouTube and tried to listen to the announcers of how they pronounce it, and I still can't get it right. Can barely pronounce my own name, let alone, what's that? Derevyanchenko. I'll take your word from it there, Tommy, but I agree. And Billy's probably one that maybe Canelo might look at. I'm not sure. Is he a big enough name either? He's a lot bigger name than William Skull anyway. All right, Batman, I think Beterbiev stops Bivol. Okay, Lynden Arthur doesn't have anything other than a jab, and he was able to go 12, getting hit all night. 36 minutes for Bivol to not get stopped. Don't see it at all. Yeah. Look, I could see Beterbiev winning. I just think Bivol will get the job done, Batman. But look, either way, I don't care. I just want to see the fight. It'll be a great fight, and to think that we're all anticipating 2 Russian fighters fighting each other. It's probably never been done before. I don't think, for all us non sort of Russian fans out there just drooling over an all Russian fight. All right, Glenn. If he makes the weight, he makes the weight. Canelo's performing the biggest duck ever. Yeah, well, you've got to make the argument, Glenn. Or I can't make the argument that he's not ducking Benavidez, because he could have easily said to David Benavidez, wait until September and I'll fight you in September. It's only, 2 months away, and Benavidez only fought, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And I'm sure Benavidez, if the Canelo fight was there in September, he would have just sat out. So I can't argue with you, Glenn. I can't say it's not a duck. I'm a Canelo fan. I think he's done more than his share for the sport of boxing, but I can't argue with you there, mate. Where do you have Bam on your pound-for-pound list? I got him 7th now. Well, funny you should ask that, Tommy, because on Wednesday night here at 7 o'clock live, I'm going to be doing the Aussie pound-for-pound and the world pound-for-pound list on here. So I'm going to just reserve my list for now. Having said that, I can't remember exactly where. I was definitely in the top 10. I can't remember where I had him. But look out, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock here for my Aussie and world pound-for-pound list. All right, Batman. Lynden Arthur landed a body shot that got quite a reaction from Bivol. Canelo always was pushing Bivol back and landed flush early till he was gassing. Beterbiev lands those same shots. Bivol won't be. Different types of fighters, though, Batman. I understand where you're getting at. I would just think Bivol will make the adjustments. Yes, he was frustrated against Lynden Arthur. Arthur's not obviously a big name or any massive talent or whatever. So I could probably see Bivol struggle to get motivated for that fight. But for this one, the all-Russian affair, I think you'll see a different Bivol than what you saw against Lynden Arthur. And also against Malik Zinad as well. I thought he looked really good against Zinad, by the way. I know Zinad's not Beterbiev, but yeah, I don't know. Call it a gut feel, Batman. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if Beterbiev steamroll Bivol at some point, but just my gut feel says Bivol makes the adjustments and has what it takes to beat Beterbiev. A lot of Bs. Same, just my opinion. Bivol is an amazing fighter, though I just think Beterbiev is a perfect style to break him down. Yeah, no, that's cool, mate. That's why it's called talking boxing. Or sorry, that way it's called talking boxing. Everyone's opinion is just as valid as anyone else's, and we have different opinions, and that's cool, mate. All good. I can obviously see, I can obviously see why many are also picking Bivol. It's a great fight regardless. 100% agree, mate. All right, John Todds, how are you, mate? Honestly reckon Dib might cook Wilson. Okay, Wilson sounds punchy already. Takes too much punishment in his fights. Spars like a lunatic. Too many miles on the clock. Yeah, not a bad observation there, John. I've always seen Liam's just maybe been a bit shy and a bit awkward, I think, rather than punchy, John. I don't think he gets hit that much. He does get hit more than what he should. I will say that. But I did talk to him in America when I was over there, and he didn't sound too bad to me. But I agree. I think we're going to see a different type of Liam in this fight. This is why I'm pretty confident, or very confident, that Liam beats Dib. I just think he would have learned a lot from the Valdez fight. Talking to Glenn Jennings after the fight, he was really, clear on what they had to do to get Liam Wilson on the right track. I think we've had Benny Harrington comment on here as well about what they're looking for as well. So I just think we'll see a better version of Liam Wilson, maybe a lot more focused Liam, and maybe one that's going to be able to make a few adjustments. And I think the fact that Yusuf Dib lost to Ibi Bella, even though Ibi's a good fighter in himself, I just think Liam will have enough to get over Dib. All right, Tommy. Seems like with Benavides, more obstacles occur. People say David needs to be Canelo mandatory, but 40-year-old Triple G and 154-pound Jamal didn't have to. I gave up on the fight happening. Yeah, there's a lot of frustrated fans out there, Tommy. I understand that. And I know it doesn't always make sense, but sometimes it's about the right fight at the right time. And even the Jamal fight, I wasn't overly keen on that fight, but I understand to some extent the reason he took it. The Triple G fight, I think we all wanted the trilogy. Triple G's the one that didn't turn up, not Canelo. So I don't think you can sort of blame Canelo for the Triple G fight. I think most people wanted the trilogy. And again, it's not Canelo's fault. The Triple G hadn't been active up into that fight, and also came into the ring and didn't really try and take it to Canelo. So, but I get the frustrations. All right, Batman. I know he's not beating Inouye, just trying to maximise his pay before he gets beaten by the Munster. So this is obviously Sam Goodman. Yep. I think they'll want to give him a crack, Batman. I think Sam's 100% adamant he wants that fight, and good on him. Good on him. I think it's great, but I just don't think it ends well for Sam Goodman. I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but I just think it's got 1 or 2 rounds written all over it. Just my opinion. Canelo was not pushing Bivol back. Bivol constantly had Canelo on the ropes, yeah. And I think the main thing with that, Glenn, the key to winning that fight for Bivol is the work rate. Canelo was used to being able to take a rest when he wanted to, and his opponent would most likely oblige. Bivol didn't. He would let Canelo do his thing, and then he would up the pace from there, and Canelo was absolutely gassed after about 5 or 6 rounds. So that seems to be the key of fighting Canelo. But I just don't think Benavides, I know he does set a pretty high work rate, especially at 168, but I don't think he's got the technique and ability of Bivol, and I just don't think he would have and he hasn't got as good defense or anything as Bivol has as well. So that's why I don't think he has a chance, in my opinion, against Canelo. But you're right. Bivol was pushing Canelo back. When he was gassed, he would go to work, and great game plan. Batman says he was so comfortable at the weight, he wouldn't have moved up. Just wasn't happy with his performance. Obviously liked to be the bigger guy, not actually as talented with the opponents. This is Canelo and Bivol. Big J. Didn't realise that Mikhailovic and Janabek for the IBF and WBO was on the 14th of this month, same day as Boots Ennis card. Okay, I knew it was this month, so same day. Ooh, I still reckon Janabek and Mikhailovic is going to be fireworks. Don't worry about that. I hope that young Mikhailovic has his will in order. Poor bugger screwed. I think Janabek will eventually knock Mikhailovic out. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mikhailovic lands a couple early and might even drop Janabek. I know Janabek is an absolute, well, we use the term all the time, but a beast, a monster, whatever you want to say. He's a hard man. But Mikhailovic can punch, and he's game, and he backs himself. I think Janabek gets the job done, and I think ultimately he probably gets Mikhailovic out of there. Could even be 4 or 5 rounds, but I think up until that point, Mikhailovic is going to give as good as he gets. I just don't think he can do it for more than probably 3 rounds, but I think it's going to be very entertaining while it lasts. And I think I'll be watching that fight over the Boots Ennis fight, to be honest. Because who was it? Avianizon or whatever his name is. Can't pronounce his name either. I think Boots wins that fight quite easily. James Brown, hey James. Crawford has been on the Joe Rogan show, so he's fairly well known to at least that group of people. Yep, that's another thing, mate. If you're going to sit them both together, Canelo's going to look at, all right, well, I've got Beterbiev as a big, strong guy. I know the fans want me to fight him, but he's going to be a tough fight. I think I can win, but it's going to be tough. Or I've got Crawford. It's going to be equally as tough, if not tougher, because Crawford's got unbelievable technique and ability and everything else, obviously in the top 2 or 3 pound for pound in the world, but he's a smaller guy. It's going to be tough either way. So what do I pick? The biggest name with the most money, and that is Terence Crawford. Can't win either way, by the way, James. If he beats Crawford, he's a blown-up welterweight. If he beats Beterbiev, then he's the weight cut hurt him too much. That's just the reality. All right, Kyle, you got the pay-per-view at $60 and KO. That's the Sam Goodman one. Okay, does $60 make a difference? Probably not. I think Glenn said he wouldn't pay $20. So anyway, all right. I'll let you guys talk about the Bivol and Beterbiev situation. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes to go. Cruiserweight, geez, that's gone quick, hasn't it? Cruiserweight limit is 200. Okay. Bridgerweight is 220. Is that right? 220. And only sanctioned by the WBC. Well, why would you bother having a 220-pound limit? You're a heavyweight, you're a heavyweight. Anyway. All right, Opetaia wipes Wilder like a dirty bum. I like that, yep. Go through a couple more comments before we finish there, guys. What's that? Wasn't he the full champ, then got done for coke before Canelo won the WBC? Ah, good call, Damien. You might be right, actually. Where is... I'll see if I can bring him back up. David Benavides. That's Beterbiev. Canelo. Did I bring him up? I probably didn't. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you're probably right there, mate. Hang on. Now you've got me. I've got to look it up. Benavides. All right. Let me have a look. What's he called? The Monster Bandera Roja. Is that the red something? All right. WBC Super Middle. Okay, yeah. He beat, I know when he was, Ronald Gavril. He beat for the super middleweight title back in 2017. Good call. Sorry about that. Yeah, and then lost it. All right. All right. What do we call you? M&M88. All right, just jumped on. Any fight news for Nikita? I think it's going to be Cole Mazudia, mate. That seems to be the word. It'll be Cole Mazudia. And then not quite sure after that, but that seems to be the rumours at the moment. And I'm assuming the announcement should be any old day now, but that's what I'm hearing. It'll be Nikita Tszyu. Damien, nothing was better than when Brock Lesnar was in the UFC. Yep, that's why Bob Arum calls it the skinhead sport. I did see that. That was an old interview, though, I think, wasn't it? The guy that was interviewing was quite offended that Bob Arum said they were all skinheads and it was a shit sport and everything else. And the guy interviewing he got really bent out of shape. But he was almost speechless. He tried to actually say to Bob Arum, or pull him up on what he was saying. And Bob Arum just sort of doubled down, and I thought it was really funny. My first UFC fight I ever went to, Damien, was Brock Lesnar. He got beat by who's the big guy? It was UFC 111, I remember. That's how long ago it was. It was 2011. We're over in Vegas for a holiday with the family, and the UFC was on. What's his name? The big guy. Let me know before we go. But he got knocked out. Is it Yassim or Kasim or something his name was? But he knocked Brock Lesnar out in that fight. It was a ripper night. I actually had a real good time. One thing I'll say about the UFC, I'm not a massive fan as far as the whole thing goes, but geez, they put on an event and the fans are passionate. They really are. They absolutely love it. They just go nuts. I did go to, and I loved it, by the way, the Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz. Again, I was over there on holidays, and it was Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, the first fight. And when Nate Diaz won and choked Conor out, I thought the roof was going to come off the stadium that night. And on the undercard, Holly Holm got choked out by, what's her name? Miesha Tate as well. So it was a good night. But the last one I went to, the Nate Diaz card, it wasn't a great night. There was fights everywhere and it just wasn't great anyway. And the fights weren't overly great either, but those events were great. What's that, Damien? $50 too much for the $60 pay-per-view. Yep, I get it. Been to a lot of events. Overeem, that's it. Yeah, Overeem. Yep. It was Alistair, is it? Alistair Overeem. Overeem knocked him out. It was a good night. I had no idea. I knew who Brock Lesnar was from the WWE, but I didn't actually know he was a UFC fighter. And when they said it was Brock Lesnar, I was like, oh wow, okay, he's fighting for real now. But Alistair Overeem, yeah, he kicked the shit out of poor old Brock Lesnar. How many Dan Qantas points do you have? Well, whenever I have them, I spend them, mate. I'm pretty lucky, I will say. I've got a business that I pay a lot, everything with my Amex points, and that in turn, my Amex card, and in turn generates points. So you're asking how I get overseas so often. That's how I do it. I do it all with points and all that sort of stuff. But I have got a lot of Qantas points as well, Damien, Qantas and American Express points. But that's what I use to go overseas all the time. So that's how I do it. All right, yep, Alistair Overeem. Well, guys, it is officially 9:01. We have been going for 2 hours, and as always, it's been an awesome 2 hours to spend with you guys and girls. And anything else you want to put in the comments, I'll answer next week. Again, just look out for Wednesday night. Will be the live pound for pound ratings, Australia, and the overseas pound for pound ratings. And we might talk about anything else. Just we'll go for an hour and a half or something with some other events that we might have coming up. Some predictions with the fights next week, and whatever else you guys want to talk about for an hour or an hour and a half. What's that there, mate? Listen on Spotify every week. First time I've managed to get it on live. Good stuff, mate. I appreciate that. We probably get, 50 people or something that listen to it after the fact. So, no, I appreciate anyone that tunes in. And again, if you've got some comments you want to bring up, some questions you want me to answer, or whatever it might be, put it in the chat, and we'll talk about it next week. So again, might see you Wednesday. If not, we'll catch you next Monday from 7 p.m. and look forward to talking to you then. Have a great week.